crazy. All right, we just started recording.
We can hear him, you know.
Yeah, I know you can hear him.
I can't hear him.
Hold
This
on.
way.
Wait. You do that there.
Oh, we're a disaster.
It goes up over your ear.
What?
It goes up over your ear.
Look at all this fancy recording stuff.
There you go.
Yeah. Conjoined twins.
Wonderful. Oh,
Hey.
you have another one. I felt left out because everybody had fancy glasses last time, so I got
Oh,
a.
she
just
she
got
just brought
bottle.
Hey, wait, where'd you go?
Where'd you go?
I don't know.
You left.
Oh, you
Can you hear me?
We can, but you hold up.
radio's off.
That's so
Your
weird.
video gone.
You look goofy from that angle.
Yeah, well, I look goofy anyways. You shut off your video as soon as you pulled up the bottle of wine.
I'm telling you, it's just hide it.
That's bizarre.
Zoom said censored. Censored, actually.
I
He's
don't.
holding a glass of wine.
I know, no kidding.
Well, I know I have mine too.
I have
Betty
the.
wine.
He's there. You are. He
Oh,
sees
you're
you when
back.
you're sleeping or snacking.
Much
Good
better.
dog.
It's a good dog one.
Nice.
It's
Well,
a
I actually have like a proper glass this time.
It looks like
See. Yeah, so I was feeling left out with everybody in their fancy glasses, so I got a fancier glass than my one last time.
I have such a fancy glass. It's invisible.
Well,
That's wild.
we decided while we were on break that we were going to change the format and add the toasty of the ghosty because it doesn't make sense to not drink and talk about this crap at the same time.
Yeah, well, yeah. I remember y'all talking about that at Christmas.
Yes.
And my hair has got I've got Jeremy Clarkson vibes going on today.
Yeah, that's more like Hammond.
Sometimes James May too, a little bit.
I saw a American James May replica at work the other day. Dude hopped out. I was like, "That's James May." I swear to no, it was not James May.
What would you have done? So, Chris, I don't know if you watch the Grand Tour or Top Gear, but James May, Jeremy Clarkson, and Richard Hammond are the presenters. And we all are a little obsessed. Dad more than the rest of us, but that's all right. Al, what would you have done if James May actually had walked into you're wearing your Grand Tour shirt? Al, what would you have done if James May walked into your store?
I first of all asked him why he was driving a Buick LeSabre.
It'd be an episode.
Yeah, probably. And then I've been like, what broke?
Again, everything.
All of it.
But all right, so tonight's topic for discussion is
why is humanity obsessed with the end of the world? That was an open-ended question.
Looking at me.
Please, well, because if you think about it, all of these religions have these massive end of the world apocalypse scenarios, and then like every 3 years, somebody out here is predicting that the world is going to end. Like you had Y2K, you had the Mayan calendar in 2012. Like you have people who are just going, "Oh, the world's ending." Why?
Religiously, you can't have and everybody live forever at the end of it. Okay, it's not everybody lived happily ever after.
But it still doesn't
any
need to
religious
end
text.
But it doesn't need to end with the sun being swallowed, and that seems to be a very common theme.
Because I think mathematically,
well, scientifically, the end basically does.
Yeah,
okay,
I was about to say that scientifically, that's what's gonna happen with the sun. Whether or not we're still around at that point, probably not. But that's what's gonna happen.
I mean,
how did they know that back in 2000 BC?
Well, first of all, I know. The reality is that man was observing the cosmos in time inequity. All right. I mean, we can agree with that, right?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. I mean, the Greeks had constellations.
Yeah.
The Greeks had knowledge of constellations. There's a small tribe in Africa who talk about the dogmen from was it Sirius? There was an African tribe that very accurately described the dog star. That's what it's a dog star, not the dogman. That's a whole other thing.
I was gonna say, what are you
That's Bray
talking about?
Road. The dog star, which only shows up every so often in the night sky. And they were talking about this whole concept as their ancestors knew it, and that their ancestors had been told this by beings who had told them about it. Thus alluding to but again, if we're observing the stars, if we're observing, whether or not ancient aliens is a reality thing, we're observing the motion of the night sky. If they're observing that, they're seeing stars falling, what they call falling stars, what we call comets now, right? They've witnessed meteorites, have witnessed the end of stars. Therefore, I mean, they're going to figure sooner or later that bright one.
But they didn't know what stars were either.
Also semi-true. I think that we modern people don't give enough credence to their stories as learning.
Well, yeah, but there's we modern people, but there's also the fact that until like reasonably recently, people didn't know what was up with like the starry sky. They thought that it was like light poking through from not like an infinite void, but like poking through some kind of barrier. Not that there was individual light sources all speckled around. So if we didn't figure that out so fairly recently,
I mean, what are you talking
I'm
about fairly recently?
I'm talking like medieval times, they were starting to figure that crap out.
Well, there was the whole Dark Age that kind of set them back a while.
Well, yeah, that's true, but still.
I mean, because ancient astronomers did have a good handle as to what stars were. I more mean like, I'm not saying, like, obviously it makes sense for there to be an end of the world as nothing is infinite, but like, why is everybody constantly predicting it's going to be like, 3 Sundays from now? And they've been doing it for hundreds of years. Like, if the world didn't end last Sunday, I don't think it's
Thankfully,
gonna end this Sunday.
they've all been wrong.
Well, yes, unless we're in a whole other paradox situation where we're all in different timelines now. But like, hey, because I saw a really interesting theory that when somebody dies, they just jump to a new timeline. And there was this whole story floating around for a while that somebody, like a husband and wife, and both of them had gone through like these near-death experiences. And after the husband nearly died, he was like absolutely convinced about this like one TV that they had. And she's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And he's like, no, we had it and we fought over it all the time because it was a stupid ass thing. And then like she nearly died, and she was convinced that they had put a fire extinguisher in the back of their coat closet. And he was like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And she's like, no, like you wanted to put this fire extinguisher there. It took up all the space. I hated it so much. Where did it go? And so they thought that they had both died and switched timelines when they like, you know what I mean?
If that was accurate, though, that would be a much more common occurrence. That would be happening a lot. Like if you retained your memories between it, that would be happening a lot. I would say that was more a side effect of when you're nearly dead, or also when you die, your brain injects just a bunch of hallucination chemicals, and it's also very traumatic for your brain in general, especially if they had an oxygen starved near death. That would therefore cause a lot of memory problems and mixing of things.
Yeah, I like the alternate universe.
I would love it if that was true.
I'm just saying.
We all know that death is my biggest fear, but like,
I would say also that ancient culture.
The end of the world. Wait, sorry, Father, I'm cutting over you. Why does the end of the world have a lot of snakes involved?
Because snakes are spooky.
If you read Revelation,
because the beginning of the world had it.
I don't like snakes though.
I love snakes. I'm gonna have a pet snake.
I will.
Well, I'm older.
You're right.
30 years. Yeah.
Come to my apartment.
I mean, a lot of ancient cultures also ended rather quite violently and suddenly. Sometimes in things like explosions, a la Vesuvius, or other cases, it was, obviously large wars and the such. The reality is so, speaking from a Christian point of view, okay, as a Christian, we have the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation gives you a vague timeline of how things are going to end in the world. All right. People, however, interpret things differently, and they want to, in some cases, they want to push that timeline forward to fit into their lifetime so that they can be there for this.
Or just to fit their
How
general
wonderful.
fear-mongering agenda.
Or there's that too, particularly if there's, this, if you're Joel Osteen or one of the other,
Right.
money grubbing prophets of doom. But the other side, well, it's true though. I mean, it is true when you have a book in the Bible that talks about the end of times and how, there's going to be the times and the tribulations and this, that, the other thing is going to happen. And everybody points to, well, this happened in 1948. So this is now going to happen now. And this is going to happen now. And this is going to happen now. I mean, I'm old enough to remember, people walking around. Thank you for not making the comment.
I was thinking.
I know you were. I could hear it from here. We're attached by umbilical cord. But I'm old enough to remember watching people walking around Times Square with the little placards, the end of times is near, repent kind of stuff. And of course,
You mean last Tuesday?
Yeah, pretty much Tuesday.
Nobody told me what.
That was before they were all replaced by the naked cowboy walking around and singing with his guitar. That's a real thing.
Going to New York.
Probably not a good idea for you, no. Or any sane, rational human being. But the reality is whenever the day is wrong, the thing that I think is more fascinating from that is when the day doesn't happen, they always have a reason. And I did bring my phone in. There's a specific guy who has been doing the end of times, God revealed that it's going to be whatever, October 27th, 2022 kind of thing. And then, October 28th comes and he's like, well, God has now revealed to me that his real plan is, at one point he was actually trying to say that the rapture had actually occurred and we were all screwed, which may actually be more accurate than anything else, But I was fascinated by the Mayan calendar thing. And I remember reading about it, and even when I was in college, it was kind of a thing. And as it came closer and closer, I think that was that 2012?
2012.
Yeah,
Because I remember
although
in 2011, my friend being like, "Oh, the world's gonna end next year. We're all gonna die," and I had a massive mental breakdown in the middle of lunch in elementary school.
No, that was a good friend.
I was gonna say, that was every other Tuesday. Let's be real here. You can't even tell me I'm wrong because frankly I'm not. But I was gonna say, didn't they find out that the Mayan calendar didn't account for things like leap years?
Yes.
Well, it wasn't just
Really,
that.
the
It was that they
world
just basically stopped counting.
Then they tried to say that it was actually, if you adjust for everything, that it was supposed to be 2020. They
Well,
were saying that during the pandemic, of course.
Still here.
So,
Yeah, I can't wait till I have grandchildren ask me about the great pandemic. Huh? What?
No, like,
Your grandpa, you lived through the great
definitely saw the
pandemic.
panic on both their faces.
Yeah, I know.
So
I have a
much
third one, He just doesn't get on the podcast.
say if it Mason, your last shot. I'm discounting out.
what? I mean, I've already. Yeah.
Nah, no, nah.
We
Nope.
discussed.
That.
Okay. Anyways, if I'd like to put my own spin on why everyone's all like, being
And
like,
the
"Oh, the
world's
world's gonna
happy?
end now. The world's gonna end now. The world's gonna end now." Me personally, I would also think that it has something to do with a combination of the internet, which we're gonna post this on, and also the mad rise in just like, I don't really know if, I still don't know really if it's a rise in people having anxiety and different types of mental disorders and everything, or a more awareness of it. So you get more news, so you get to see all the bull crap that's happening around the world instead of just in your little bubble, mixed with an increase in anxiety, depression, doomist mentality, nihilism, and all that kind of stuff. And that just makes, to me, that would it just, people would tend to jump to conclusions, in my personal opinion. The more access you have the more access that you have to that information, along with the more that your brain kind of works overtime with that kind of information, and the more people get to have a voice, the more people are going to be crying out that the world's about to end, the world's about to end, the world's about to end, until it eventually does.
So you're just feeding that anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. It's a, what do they call that? A feedback loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, that guy his name was Harold Camping. He's now predicted the end of times up until 2013.
That was the end of his time.
Right. He was correct once. because he died at age 92 in 2013.
They're gonna
92?
because I'm old
Oh my
as sin.
I feel so bad for
I feel a little terrible laughing about that, but you know,
I don't.
I also
I mean-
lived through Y2K, so you know, Best Buy was, you know, posting signs in their stores when it was a relevant store, to
Hey,
to
Best Buy's still
unplug
relevant.
your machines on you know, December
Year?
31st, 1999, or everything was going to reset to the Middle Ages. And in my head, I'm thinking that'd be kind of cool.
Didn't everybody think that like the computer system that like controls nukes was gonna malfunction and
Yep.
a bunch of
Yep.
nukes were just gonna be
Mhm.
launched?
Absolutely.
As if they wouldn't have thought, oh, let's change the 19 to 20 when they designed the bomb that splits an
You know,
atom
that
to
one
make an
goes all the way up to
explosion.
9. I mean, we got another 1,000 years we can go or more.
Jeez.
Oh,
Dude,
God.
people were like so scared about that shit though.
They
But
weren't.
I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. They were.
So, yeah, he was just green.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I was talking about this earlier, when you sent me the message, and I was like, thought it was like funny because it's like one of those things where it's like when you know the end of the movie or you know the end of the book, it kind of helps with the anxiety of going through reading the book or finishing
Yeah,
the movie.
No, you're right.
And so it kind of like I'm that person that, which is really ironic, I'm that person that like as a writer I kind of want to write the last chapter being incorrect for those people that read the last chapter of the book. You do that, don't you?
You should do at least one book.
100%.
That'd be
You're right.
hilarious.
I'm gonna call it Chapter Megan every single time. But I can't stand it because it ruins so much, and especially with my books in particular. Like, because I do cliffhangers most of the time. But
I
I
definitely
don't know,
read
it's
the
that
last
anxiety
chapter
of
of
just
them too.
sorry, I do. But it is that like constant thing about like you're feeding that anxiety. So you're going through and you're like constantly checking what other people are saying, other people are doing, how other people are viewing everything. What's this person saying about the end of the world? What's this person saying? What's this theory? What's that theory? What's this theory? And you really are just feeding your anxiety. And you are just kind of feeding into this mob mentality. And it's everywhere. It's in our movies, it's in our books, it's in our religions, it's in our DNA. I mean, we're made of the cosmos, like we are made of stars that exploded. So like it's that whole idea of it really is our foundation of what we're made of. So it's just what we're obsessed with.
One of the things that I think is interesting when it comes to the end of the world things, you know, when you talk about the Mayan calendar, it just sort of ended and everybody was like, wow, that's really stark and really fast. In the book of Revelation, in the Bible, but also in Tibetan Buddhism, as well as in the Bhagavad Gita, which I know I'm destroying the pronunciation of, those actually have an ending that's not quite an ending, it's a new beginning.
Are you talking
Well,
about like
So
It's the
the Hindu book?
well, in the book of Revelation, it's also that heaven becomes a physical thing and earth becomes a new earth, and they actually merged the way that the Garden of Eden was originally comprised to be, and back in Genesis. And the Bhagavad Gita does the same concept. It's the wheel, though.
Norse mythology has a similar situation because they have, you know, the big serpent swallowing
Right,
the
Yggdrasil.
tongue or the sun, and then all this stuff, and then supposedly the Norns will choose a group of people to go into the Norn tree, and then those people will all live, and then Earth will be destroyed, but they'll live in one of the other 9 realms that they have and restart essentially.
What's interesting about that is that actually ties into science as well, because generally it is believed that all like I don't actually know the name of like whatever theory it is and all that kind of stuff, or even like what the realm of science is, but generally it's however matter has like shaped itself, it will shape itself as such again. Like whatever has been will once again shall be. So like if you took an I don't know. If you took it,
It's
so
not
like the
really
general
okay.
demonstration for it is like, say you took an apple, you put it into a box, like a perfectly sealed box, nothing could ever like get inside of it or nothing can ever escape. Eventually, that apple will go through all states of matter. That apple will become basically a star, it'll become a black hole, it'll then turn into an apple, perfectly fine once again.
Well,
Conformal.
at the end of black
thick
holes or white
liquid.
holes, so that makes sense.
So basically,
Yeah.
if the universe goes how scientists think that it would, they all will follow. Yeah, pretty much. It'll just collapse and then it'll go back.
Back up
One day
again.
we'll have this conversation all over again.
You know, fair enough.
In like
It is
60
a
billion years.
relativity based theory. I can't pronounce it, but I have
Right.
Google.
Well, I mean, it's the
Google
same
has
thing
it.
of, you know, when I was a kid, and not really a kid, I guess I was in college, and I would have these conversations with my friend Dave, late into the evenings while watching bad vampire movies. I mean,
Lost Boys.
no, much worse than the Lost Boys. And
Two.
it would be sitting there, and Ben Cross was the vampire. That's all I can remember from it. It was a remake of an older vampire show, television program. Anyhow, we were sitting there watching, and we're talking about like souls and how do you know that you're you know not alien centric.
You're not talking about Dark Shadows, are
Yes,
you?
Dark Shadows, correct.
Oh my god.
How do you know that you're not, you know, just being a meat puppet? And my answer to him at that time was the idea that energy can be neither created nor destroyed, but the energy that keeps you living, the energy that keeps you up and going has to go somewhere after you die.
Right.
And, you know, and that was long before they started doing the quantum physics like experiments where they literally were taking people who on the moment of their death they were recording not just their death but also the weight of the body and the
Wasn't there
energy
something
at
about the
the
weight
death.
changing?
That
Yes.
study was eventually disproven. It was proven to be a hack, and any actual technical weight loss was your bowels emptying.
No.
And they got rid of it. Yes,
No.
because the study was proven to be a false study. That
I'm not buying that.
I am buying that.
I am
because
not
I've
buying
seen
that.
many papers about it. Because I was
Somebody
very
Google
interested. Because Megan, as we know, I am terrified of what comes after death.
Alex has
And
an
so
existential crisis
I've-
every 3 days or so.
I've read about every day. I've read about these kinds of studies, and I read about that one. I read about it extensively. I did a lot of study on it, and that study was false. The guy in charge of it doctored the numbers, and in real life, the actual like
It was a very
seems like
infinitesimal number.
it seems like people like doctors being like it seems like people get lighter after they die or whatever. That was just bowel movements after you die. The actual study, the doctor fudged the numbers.
I don't know. The number that I'm thinking of was an atomic weight. It was
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
a large
Yeah.
physical like you just shit yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, YouTube. This is not safe for work nor children.
They fudged the numbers. They lied.
Um,
It's not too hard to be like, oh yes, they changed by the weight of one atom. Yep. Like they lied.
I don't know. I still subscribe to that. I still
I would love
subscribe to the idea
subscribe
that
to but
the energy
the
that
actual quantity.
animates you goes after. I mean, beyond the fact that your
technically it's
grandmother's
electricity.
house.
Well, besides that, but technically it's electricity. Is the
That's
energy
fine.
that keeps you alive.
I don't have an issue with that.
Powers your brain.
I could be a ghost in the electrical grid.
Because it's not like
Oh, that'd be sick.
we have to take in energy.
Not
to stay
in
alive.
Texas, you have to pay for it.
And eventually,
subscriber base.
what takes in that energy and makes us wears down. It's like a car. Like you keep
So if
putting
I
fuel in it,
shock
it stays
myself
alive.
repeatedly,
But eventually, once all the parts are broken, it just can't be turned on anymore. It is no longer a car, it is just spare parts.
so Alex,
I'm
Alex,
good for a while, is what you're telling me.
Sure, buddy.
Alex, that was mean. So if I just shock myself repeatedly, I'll live forever. No.
No.
That's a terrible idea.
You
Certainly
have
do not
you
take a
have
key and
balance-
insert it into a
You have a balance of electricity. It's a very, 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 I cannot stress this enough, very minuscule amount of electricity that is created within our bodies through chemical reactions. And those chemical reactions and everything else about us is fueled by the food and the air and the water and everything else that we intake, mostly the water in terms of the electrical stuff, because of potassium. But yeah.
That doesn't talk about my
stopped
spirit.
myself.
But I would say that like the idea of a personality or a soul, that in and of itself, I would like to believe that there's something separate that causes that. Because
Well-
I don't believe that if you somehow took a dead person, like a dead person, you can continue to, you could replace everything within a dead person. Because the brain really isn't what deteriorates mostly, it's the driving organs. So, but even if you took a dead person's brain and somehow hooked it up to some kind of machine to make it alive, it would not be the
So he's a
same person.
Frankenstein? Like,
Well, yeah, no.
Yeah,
like,
that's what he's.
they would
but-
not be the same person. You could plug it into a computer. It wouldn't be. It would not be the same thing. It
And
would be
oddly
similar, but it
enough,
would not be the same.
every single
It is its
religion,
soul.
almost every single religion talks about the soul in the sense that you are not just physical, but you are also spiritual.
Yeah.
Every single religion. I mean, they don't necessarily use the word soul, but most of them do. I mean, in Buddhism, it's your chakras.
Everybody loves chakras.
You know,
Shout
if
out to
you're
Avatar.
if you're talking about
What?
Native American, they talk about spirit, but their spirit, I mean, they're all based in animalistic and shamanistic concepts, but they all have the idea of spirit.
I am a sloth.
when I
My
die,
spirit
I-
animal is a duck.
No, that's Brad's.
Chris is like, what the hell just happened here?
Your spirit animal is
My spirit animal?
penguin.
Nah.
That's a
Nah.
compliment coming from me. He looks like the penguin from Batman. That's all I'm basing that off.
What happened? I'm
My spirit animal might be a
You
moose.
can't do that. You have to do this. Although you don't have to do this. You can just use your nose. I'm done roasting Dad for now. We can continue on.
See, people only listen to this, they only get half the show. That's
Oh.
how
I
it
might
is.
leave y'all alone and go eat my pizza. Speaking of fuel for the body, because I am hungry.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Well, Thank you, special guest Alex, sir. And now I'm gonna think about dying a lot. So,
Welcome to the party, man.
Oh no, it just asked me if I'm running out of time.
constantly. God. First of all, when I die, I would like to become a dragon.
I mean,
I still go with the idea that energy is neither created nor destroyed, and therefore you go on. As far as religions having end of the world
I have a lot
concepts,
of end of the worlds.
well, they have to,
Why? Why do they have to?
because we are
Everything
fleshly
ends.
beings.
yeah.
We're fleshly beings. We're going to die, and so is our. I mean, think of it this way. I mean, you want to look at something. Look at the Roman Empire. Look at the time in which Revelation was being written. All right, John of Patmos, who is living on the island of Patmos. This is the Apostle John. Okay, not John the Baptizer. Came after. All right, came after John the Baptist. All right, so John, the Apostle John, writes his gospel some 63 years or so after Jesus's death. Now, this is an old man. He's already in his 70s or even 80s at this point. And then he writes the book of Revelation. So he's trying to talk about what he has seen from God's work throughout the world. Okay. He is also witnessing the destruction of the greatest, longest living empire on planet Earth. Because while the Roman Empire would survive another almost 300-400 years after his death, remember, it was already falling apart in Rome. Now,
Well, no,
partly
I
it was
know.
falling apart because of the Catholics, but that's a whole other story. All right. It was falling apart, but it was still expanding out. The
Right,
rumors
no.
of its destruction didn't hit for another 300 years to Brittany.
But like, that doesn't explain why there needs to be an end of the world in every religion.
Because
Because
all
like I
things
don't
have to end.
well, okay. But like I don't think the world's gonna end just like when I die, I don't think that the world has ended because I am dead.
I don't think that's what they're
Yeah.
talking about.
I think in the end you have to think about it like this. Religious people are still humans. Like there may be a god entity associated with it, but you still have humans writing this religion. And humans by nature die. So we are incapable of comprehending the fact being that things move on because our bodies die. We are comforted by the fact being that our soul, our spirit, our consciousness can move on to a higher level of existence, a different plane of existence. But we know our bodies are going to die. And no matter at what point of existence you live on this planet, you've seen something be destroyed. We've seen it. We've seen volcanoes erupt. We've seen men destroy countries. We've seen tornadoes go through and destroy everything. We've seen Hurricane Katrina. We've seen so much stuff. And then the further back you go in history, the less and less notifications humans got of stuff. It was more traumatic and more, oh my God, this is happening all of a sudden. Pompeii, no warnings. So it's just this concept of something at some point is going to take place that will just end this planet entirely.
Well, I also think it goes a little deeper than that. I mean, if you look at the idea of the Great Flood, all right. So Noah, I happen to just be rereading Genesis. All right. When the Great Flood happens, you know, it's talking about the God of Israel. They're talking about the God of this very finite area, but they consider it as wiping the planet Earth. Now, there are a number of ancient um, societies and cultures that talk about a great flood that wiped out much of the earth as they knew it. And that's kind of the big part to think about is the as they knew it, because oddly enough, all those cultures happen to be within you know, a roughly a quarter of the world of the known world as we now know the world. All right. So
Right.
you may be talking from Assyria to Samaria to Sumatra to Ethiopia to where there was clearly some sort of great global upheaval that wiped out a lot of people. But did it affect South America? Probably not. In fact, it could have, even for all we really know from the timeline of the stories and how long it took for them to procreate through the human race, it could have actually been the breakup of Pangea that Noah's flood is actually talking about. You know, the concept of timelining is a little fuzzy. I mean, we have Methuselah living 975 years, you know.
I did want to talk about time on an episode because
Well, I mean, I think that's an important thing. Again, like I said, I'm just rereading uh Genesis. They have some very specific names and very, very specific numbers that are followed up by scrolls that are thousands and thousands of years old. So
well, I mean,
that is a story in and of itself.
I was gonna say you have that throughout a couple of different ancient societies. Like you have the Egyptians with the first pharaohs living literally thousands of years.
Of course.
And the first Babylonian kings living hundreds of years with like all of these old stories with some weird friggin' timelines and like geographical locations. And you're sitting there going, that can't possibly be what they mean, you know?
But maybe it is. I mean, and
Right.
that's sort of the thing. The same is true with the idea of destruction of the world or the ending of the world, is they may have really been talking about like, wow, we've seen all these empires fall and crumble and come and rise. But then again, I'm just going to, as the devout Christian, or at least the one who talks about being a devout Christian on the panel. I have no idea. I'm just guessing at this point, right? Looking at, say, the Star of Bethlehem. All right. We now know that the Star of Bethlehem was either a comet or a supernova,
Right.
the destruction of a world.
Yep.
All right.
Interesting.
And supernovas have been described in ancient texts just as much as destructions. All right. So again, I think it does a disservice to ancient people for them to think that they don't understand that stars were born, stars collided, stars destroyed. And
Well, I didn't say
sooner or
that
later,
they-
that's going to happen here.
Well, I didn't say that
And
they
I think
didn't
I think that's why
understand
that becomes part of the religious text, though.
Okay. So, I mean, that explains, yeah, no, I guess you guys have adequately explained why there would be end of the world written in ancient and modern times. Good job.
Well, the modern people who keep claiming it and then it doesn't happen, they don't necessarily explain it quite as much. I think that's hubris. I think that's up there with your prosperity gospel. People are like, God is going to take me home if I don't get me a new plane. Like, okay, bye.
Goodbye.
You know?
That's actually probably accurate.
It's probably better for you believers than not. Sorry. I need to cross myself 4 times, spit in a circle. I don't know. Go to the
And
theater.
I think modern day is just really attention.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And the
Attention and
TikToks.
entertainment.
We're almost
the
under a
TikToks.
minute, by the way. In the
TikToks,
TikToks.
Yeah.
Show me the TikToks.
Tic-tacs.
So,
yeah.
as our
End of the world.
End of
Those
the
are
world.
my thoughts.
So here's what my thought is I think every one of these episodes breeds like 5. That's what my thought is.
Well, yeah, because now I have some serious questions about time that needs to be discussed.
I think time would be a great episode in
It's
itself.
time in the multi-dimension.
Well, those have to be 2 separate ones. There's
Yeah,
ain't no way we're
2
I'll
covering
have to
time.
pay for the upgrade.
Well,
Yeah.
then it'll be a 7-hour friggin' episode. Then we're like, and what about the multiverse?
All right. With that, we're at less than a minute, so we need to do the
Bye.
bye. And Alex Orton's nickname is damn pizza.
Bye.